Hello, Connect 5 attendees. My name is Sam Cheng. I'm the copyright librarian at Sheridan. I also provide support to students and faculty in animation, arts, and design programs. Thanks so much for this opportunity to share information about the Visual Research and Literacy game. The project was a collaboration between Nadia El-Hashami, a former library colleague, an interactive media management student, and me. Here's the homepage of the game. It is hosted on the library's web server. I've embedded the game on a LibGuide since I plan to add more information and resources about visual research and visual literacy in the LibGuide. I can also track usage stats in LibGuide. The Visual Research and Literacy game is a choose-your-own-adventure type of game. From what I understand, academic libraries have experimented with this type of game before. For example, UBC has a series of choose-your-own research games for students. The University of Irvine has also done something similar for a humanities course. The Visual Research and Literacy game includes 2 stories for students to explore. In the first game, Megan is a film student who's working on a documentary, and she's looking for historically accurate images of makeup from different decades. In the second story, Afshin is a marketing student who's searching for copyright-friendly images for a tourism-related project. Students step into the roles of these fictional characters and make choices as they explore the stories. The purpose of the game is to educate students on how to effectively find, evaluate, and use images based on their information needs. The game also covers basic copyright issues related to copying and using images in projects that will be shared more broadly, such as on the internet and at film festivals. I identified the learning outcomes for both stories. The learning outcomes are aligned with ACRL's Visual Literacy Competency Skills Framework. The 4 competencies are: participate in a changing visual information landscape, practice visual discernment and criticality, pursue social justice through visual practice, and perceive visuals as communicating information. Faculty in animation, arts, and design programs are already teaching these skills in their courses, even if they aren't familiar with their ACRL competencies. I also think that these competencies are relevant to students across different disciplines, since students often use images and create graphs and diagrams to communicate their ideas. Here are the learning outcomes for the film student Megan's story. This story was actually inspired by an assignment for a course in the Makeup for Media and Creative Arts program at Sheridan. Students are required to find authentic images of makeup styles from the 1920s to 2000s. A faculty in the program mentioned that students were using contemporary photos of makeup inspired by historical styles, but contemporary interpretations are not always historically accurate. She said they needed help with finding real photos from different decades. Megan's story allows students to discover library and online resources for finding archival images and primary sources. These online resources include museum and archive websites, the Internet Archive, and Duke University's repositories of old advertisements. The game mentions Page 1+ for finding books about societal and cultural issues related to makeup and beauty. It also mentions Press Reader and WGSN for finding information about makeup and beauty in other countries. In addition to discovering relevant resources, Megan's story introduces students to issues like identifying image metadata, social and cultural implications of visuals, and copyright issues. Each story in the game starts with a background on the character's project, and it covers some of the common image research and copyright issues that Sheridan students encounter. Even though the stories are on a film student and a business student, some of the copyright issues addressed in the game are applicable to students across different programs. I'll point out a few key features of the game. At different points of each story, students are presented with two choices to select. Each choice leads to key information and resources they learn about. Each story also includes sample images based on what the character is looking for. In Megan's story, for instance, she finds a few images of old advertisements from Google. This part of the story also talks about the fact that contemporary photos of retro makeup styles are not always historically accurate. Both stories include a simulated library chat. Here's the chat transcript in Efshin's story. I really like the time-delayed pop-up messages. A former student from the Interactive Media Management program helped us with coding the game. He came up with this idea of pop-up messages since this is how messages in a library chat service appear. Adobe Stock is mentioned later in Afshin's story when they were looking for photos of people with disabilities engaging in a venture of some sort. It also mentions why real photos should be used in this case instead of AI-generated images. It is my attempt to gently address the ethical implications of finding and using images with equity-deserving individuals. Both stories include a quiz and additional resources at the end of the game. The sign menu here allows students to start over or choose the other story. The short quiz at the end reinforces student learning. The quizzes are optional, but if a student completes them, it counts towards co-curricular recognition credit. Our Library Learning Services has partnered with Career Services to offer this opportunity. So if a student completes 6 modules in the Academic Skills Hub, they can apply to receive co-curricular credits. Here's a general overview of the process involved in creating this game. Writing the script wasn't a straightforward process. A former library colleague helped with editing the initial script, and I kept going back to rewrite and fine-tune the script. Cutting down the text was also a big part of the editing process, and it was quite time-consuming. We also had to edit and update the code at different stages of the project as changes were made to the game. A photography faculty and a makeup faculty provided feedback and suggestions for the game. I made some changes based on their suggestions. For example, adding a previous button throughout the game so students can go back and select a different option than the one they chose before at a fork in the road. The game has been promoted to faculty and students. I shared the game in my faculty newsletter. We also posted an article in the student newsletter. Thanks so much for listening. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.